my name is Miranda and welcome to another video. Today is going to be my potential N.E.W.T.s magical readathon TBR list. This list is essentially filled with books of what I do remember owning back home, as I am returning to my home city for a visit for the month of August. There's one category that is yet to be filled. I am struggling so hard to fill this category because I don't think I own any books in this category, and I don't really have any on my e-reader or that I can think of from the library that I'm going to be taking out. But the other categories I did manage to fill. I am very excited for every single book in all of these categories. I only have 4 that I picked books for, as I only finished 4 categories for the O.W.L.s magical readathon a couple months ago. But that just makes it a little bit easier for me, considering I am visiting home. I'm spending a lot of time with friends and family. I don't really know how much reading time I'm going to actually have. I will leave a link to the original video for the magical readathon N.E.W.T.s exams down below. I will also leave a link to their Twitter page. Alright, so the first category is Care of Magical Creatures. Within each category there are 3 subcategories, as you have the different levels that you can achieve in these exams. So for Magical Creatures, for an acceptable level, I need to complete Eragon by Christopher Paolini. I'm actually going to be doing a reread / completion of the Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini because I still haven't actually finished it, and I barely remember what happened in book 2, and I remember loving book 1 so much that I just want to reread it anyway. So first pick will be Eragon by Christopher Paolini. It has an animal on the cover, it has a dragon. Section 2 is extraordinary, and that is read a book under 160 pages. So this is a book I'm also reading for the Booktubeathon. Readathon that's going on kind of overlaps a little bit, and that is Simple Cinderella by N.E.W.T.s. This is a Cinderella retelling. It's very dark. Don't really know how dark. But it's a very tiny novella that's just on my e-reader, so I thought I'd just fly through it really quick. It's also the same one I picked for a book-to-movie adaptation read, because I'm gonna watch Cinderella after, because I feel like watching a Disney movie. And then to get an outstanding, which is the final category, I have to read a book that includes dragons. So I'll be reading the second book in the Inheritance Cycle, which is Eldest. There's dragons in all of these books. Maybe I should mention, if those of you who maybe have never heard of the Inheritance Cycle, with the books Eragon, Eldest, Brizinger, and Inheritance. The book follows a young boy by the name of Eragon, go figure. And one day Eragon finds this blue stone that turns out to be a dragon egg, and a dragon hatches from it. Turns out to be his dragon. Yes, Eragon turns out to be a dragon rider, and he has found his dragon. So Eragon and his dragon, they have a very special bond, which makes them dragon and dragon rider, and he ends up being hunted down by the king of his land, who has exterminated the entire dragon rider race. So the book follows Eragon as he's essentially trying to escape from the king and join the rebel cause. That's essentially what I remember from the book. It's been so many years since I read it. I just remember adoring this book, and one of the scenes in it was so heartbreaking to me, I was bawling my eyes out. But I am excited to reread this series and actually finish it. Category 2 is Divination, and this one was pretty difficult. So to get an acceptable in this, I have to read a book set in the future. I will actually be reading a comic book. I'm going to be reading volume 4 in the Firefly comic book series, as this book both takes place in a future society, and this book is a continuation of the Firefly series set after the events of the movie Serenity. Double whammy for set in the future right there. To get an extraordinary in divination, I have to read a book that is under 200 pages. This one was tricky for me. I was going to read a book I was originally going to read for the Booktubeathon. That is a very tiny online novella. However, I have since discovered that a book I desperately want to read, the version I have is under 200 pages. And that is Sight Witch by Susan Dennard. According to Goodreads, there's a few different variations as to how many page numbers this novella has. But according to Kobo, which is the e-reader that I have, the book is 186. I'm going to take that as the book I have on my e-reader, which I took out from the library, is 186 pages. It is very finicky. I don't really know if it is, but based on what I found, it does seem to be under 200. And I really want to read this book, so I'm putting it in this category. Yeah, no, I really want to finish the Witchland series. I'm so excited for Blood Witch to come out, but I want to have everything read well before it comes out. And then to get an outstanding in divination, you have to read a mythology book. So I'm playing with this question a little bit. I'm planning on reading The Weight of Feathers by Anna Marie McLemore. It's technically based off Romeo and Juliet, but Romeo and Juliet is based off a couple different mythologies and legends and tales. I've read a couple myths that are very similar to Romeo and Juliet. I've read a couple legends. So while it's technically based off Romeo and Juliet is, I'm pretty certain, based off a few of these different myths and legends. So based on that progress, I'm going to say that The Weight of Feathers is a mythology book in a sense. I know I'm essentially grasping at straws with this explanation, but I really want to read this book. I'm planning on taking it out from my city library, and I figured this is the closest I'm gonna get. If anyone does have a problem with my explanation in order to make this book work, I'll probably change the book to Abandoned by May Cabot, which is a retelling of the Persephone myth, which I'm not mad about. I love that trilogy. My third category is Herbology. To get an acceptable in Herbology, you have to read a book with green on the cover, and for that, I'm reading A Reaper at the Gate by Saba Tahir. There's actually the same category in the Booktubeathon to read a book with green on the cover, so this one's going to be for both. That is one of the most convenient, handy things I've had so far, and I'm very happy it happened. To get an extraordinary, you have to read a book with illustrations in it, and I'm going to read another Firefly comic. This time I'm going to read The Shepherd's Story. This is actually my favorite comic in the Firefly comic book series, as it tells the backstory of Shepherd Book, who's a character that's rather mysterious in the series. There's comments made about his past and who he was, and there's little hints given, but as the series never continued, you never find out. So this comic book instead answers the question of who Shepherd Book is, and I love it. So comic book illustrations fits the category. So now we're at the category I'm personally having problems finding a book for, and that is to get an outstanding in Herbology, I must read a book that has either light, air, sun, or water in the title. I'm not having a good time finding a book for this. I'm gonna check my shelves once I get home. If I manage to find something, I will add it in there. Other than that, it might remain empty. Maybe leave some recommendations for me down below. I really don't know what to put in this category. I cannot think of a single book. My other option is to just start tweeting at the Magical Readathon Twitter page and ask if any of these other books I have in mind I would love to read will fit this category. I'd love it if Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Foody would fit, but I think that's stretching it. And then my fourth and final category is History of Magic. I wonder if I should be saying class instead of category, or examination. Well, then I guess my final examination is History of Magic. Okay, so to get an acceptable, I have to read a book that I think would fit right in at the Hogwarts library. I went back and forth on this question quite a bit. Finally, I've settled on a book I'm also reading for Booktubeathon, and that is The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw, and that is because I fully expect Hogwarts to have a section titled Witches and Wizards in Muggle Fiction. Wicked Deep does have 3 witch sisters who do possess people in a town every so many years, so I think that would probably fit in at Hogwarts in a section in the library about witches and wizards in Muggle fiction. I think that'd be kind of cool because then everyone at Hogwarts can read about how people view wizards and witches. But yeah, so Wicked Deep is the one I finally settled on. I was going to do Sight Witch, but then I put it in the other category. I was going to do Book Thief, but I wasn't quite sure how to fit it into this category. Wicked Deep seemed like a better fit. To get an extraordinary in History of Magic, I have to read a book that was published at least 5 years ago. So here we continue with my inheritance cycle reread/completion, and I will finally read Brazinger by Cristobal Paolini. That is the 3rd book in the inheritance cycle. And then finally, to get an outstanding in History of Magic, I have to read a book that is at least 400 pages long. I had to double check Goodreads, and I was right about it. And the 4th and final book of the inheritance cycle, which is titled Inheritance by Cristobal Paolini, is over 400 pages long. I was hoping it was. I remembered it was a very big book, so I was really hoping it was over 400 pages. So there you have it. That is my TBR for the Magical Readathon N.E.W.T.s examination in August. Like I said, there is one category that is still empty. I'm hoping to find a book to fit it before the end of the month. If I don't, it's fine. I do have a few other books at home I want to read which don't fit into categories here. The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak, as well as Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Foody are 2 books I really want to read while I'm at home. And then I'm going to prioritize my reread/completion of the Inheritance Cycle over a couple books in there. There's a slight chance 1 or 2 of these categories might change around again, but I think it's pretty set now. It took me so many weeks to plan out this TBR. This is one of the hardest TBRs I had to plan out in my life. This is what happens when you just do not remember what you own and want to fit very particular books to read in a readathon with categories. I am hoping to finish all the books on this TBR, but as I said, I am visiting home during the month of August. Don't really know how much reading I'm going to get done that month. But no matter what, I am excited for the Magical Readathon N.E.W.T.s examination, and I already have a slightly better feeling about this readathon than I did for the O.W.L.s readathon, particularly since I don't have any assignments due. I do still have to do research for my dissertation though, so there is that. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If If you want to see more videos by me, both bookish and travel related, please click that subscribe button down below. And seriously, if anyone has any recommendations for the one category I haven't filled yet, please leave a comment, because I would really like to fill that category if I can. But that's it for this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!